at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
A winter-like start this morning with temperatures in the single digits and teens and wind chills 0 to 10 below. By the end of the week, we will be talking about record-breaking high temperatures in the upper 80s to around 90. This afternoon, northwesterly winds around 10 miles per hour will shift to the south, and under sunny skies, highs will warm into the lower to mid-40s. Lows will be in the 20s, and tomorrow, west-northwesterly winds will get a bit breezy, 15 to 25 gusts and 35 miles per hour, and warm highs into the mid-70s. Could cause some blowing dust, and lows will be more mild, around 40. Wednesday through Saturday, a heat ridge over the Great Basin will expand into the area to record-breaking high temperatures. Skies will be sunny. Highs Wednesday and Thursday will be 80 to 85, and Friday and Saturday in the upper 80s and low 90s. Fire weather conditions can be elevated on the breezier afternoons Wednesday and Friday. This meteorologist Chris Romick, the NWKS Radio Weather Center.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale that's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Linflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvin East bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
Looking for insurance that actually puts you first? At the insurance agency in downtown Goodland, we're independent, which means we work for you. Whether it's auto, home, crop, or business, we shop top carriers to get you the best coverage at the best price. No pushy sales, just honest advice from people who live right here in your community. Give us a call today at 785-899-5011 or stop by 1020 Main in Goodland and let's get you covered. The insurance agency. Insurance the way it should be.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
Need a porta potty or septic pumping in Northwest Kansas? Call Topside Portables and Pumping, your local family-owned crew. They've got clean, reliable toilets for weddings, farms, and job sites, plus full septic services, RV waste, fertilizer tanks, and more. Available 24/7, because when nature calls, they answer. Call 785-728-8089. That's 728-8089. Topside Portables and Pumping. Reliable, local, clean.
At Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic, they believe in promoting healthier living through compassionate quality care. From state-of-the-art maternity care to life-saving emergency services, their dedicated team is there for you and your family. Whether it's managing diabetes, navigating recovery, or receiving specialized treatments, they're committed to your well-being. Discover the difference a community-focused hospital can make. Visit rayhospital.org today to learn more. Ray Community District Hospital and Clinic. Your health, our priority. When you're looking for great food and friendly hometown service, make it Traditions Restaurant in Goodland. Open Wednesday through Sunday, Tradition serves up classic comfort food favorites, daily specials, and hearty meals made with care. From lunch to dinner, you'll enjoy fresh ingredients, generous portions, and a welcoming atmosphere every time you stop in. It's the perfect spot for family meals, lunch breaks, or catching up with friends. Join the tradition at Traditions Restaurant, proudly serving Goodland Wednesday through Sunday, where good food and great traditions come together.
You ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4! It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
I'm old, I'm white, and I don't understand any of it.
The High Plains only local sports talk show, broadcasting live on Goodland's Rocket 102.5 and video streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and X.
Sky is everywhere.
Covering it all from the preps to the pros.
Right side throw, touchdown! Kansas City!
The Blitz is presented by Hurl Chevrolet GMC, Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, and F&B Bank, along with
Pestaway LLC,
Topside Portables and Pumping, Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell, and the Insurance Agency.
Let's go to work. Steps through, cuts through the paint, kicks to McDowell. He wants a three. He'll get a three. Jamari McDowell, a corner pocket three ball.
To Johnson, handoff Godot with 6, drifting right corner, guarded by Rapp, over Yaks, right wing 3 for the win. Oh, yeah!
Yes, sir.
First pitch to him. Line drive, base hit center field. Here comes Sanderson to score. Buck to follow. Welcome to 2026 Red Stokes. It's black magic here in the bottom of the ninth. And the Huskers have shattered the hearts of the Black Bears. They have rallied to win it. Another walk-off.
Rebounds. Gives to Braden Smith. Gives to Fletcher Lawyer. Purdue on the run. Ahead to Oscar Clough. He dunks with 2 hands. Purdue leads by 11.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Back and rolling for another week here on the Morning Blitz. A chilly start to this week with temperatures just over 10 degrees. 11 degrees and sunny. The current temperatures outside the KLOE studios here in Goodland on spring break week for a majority of area schools. And it may be a light listen to week, maybe a little bit. With at least a lighter one, with people getting out of town, wanting to go on some vacation, get away from things, understandably. Hope everyone's doing okay after this crazy past weekend, no matter if it was, of course, the cooler temperatures today, but the winds yesterday that just blew like nobody's business, but we're used to it by now. Hope everyone is doing all right and ready to dig in here for another week. We got a full show ahead today. We will be talking with Steve Mark of Inside Nebraska basketball, along with Kansas basketball. Got their orders on where they will be going and who they will be playing in the first round of the NCAA men's basketball tournament. We will get to that coming up in segment number 3 today. That's right. Working with the schedule of Steve, he had to go to segment 3 today. So that'll be about quarter till, about 7:45 Mountain, 8:45 Central Time. We'll have Steve Merrick on to talk about what's going on with Nebraska basketball heading into the NCAA tournament. We, of course, will have weekend winners and losers coming up here in a little bit, and we will get to our leftovers and a picks of the weekend recap coming up on today's program. As always, the F&B Bank text line is open at 785-899-2222. If you'd like to be part of the Morning Blitz, you are welcome to do so that way. We'll get to those comments and stuff throughout the show. Programming note for those who are curious. I made the comment might have been actually last week or 2 weeks ago. I said if Nebraska basketball made it to Oklahoma City for the NCAA tournament, I would be going. That will stand true. I will not be here Thursday nor Friday. So no shows Thursday or Friday. I will be down in Oklahoma City watching Nebraska basketball. Hopefully for 2 days. We'll see. It may only be 1, but if it's 2, be down there at 4. So no shows Thursday or Friday here on the Morning Blitz. A programming note. No shows Thursday or Friday due to the fact I will be out of the office and down at Oklahoma City. Got tickets and got a place to stay. So heading down to Oklahoma City for those games on Thursday, for that game on Thursday. And I'm going to watch some other games as well down there in Oklahoma City. So that is what is on the docket for this week. So only shows on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. But I'm telling you, all 3 shows this week are going to be great because we're going to have great guests on. Talk about, we'll have Sam Hadfield from 801 Bracketology, who had his most successful bracket ever. And so we're going to visit with him about that on Tuesday, and then a super surprise guest for Wednesday. I'm super excited about Wednesday's guest, and you should be too. He is one of one, and he will join us coming up on Wednesday. More on that coming up a little bit later on. But that is what is happening today this week on the Morning Blitz. So once again, 3 shows this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, no shows Thursday, Friday, as I will be at the NCAA tournament watching the Big Red on what is going to be a Big Red Nation overtake of Oklahoma City. I can guarantee it. There's too much written about it, too many things said there will be a ton of red in Oklahoma City to support the basketball team. So we've got all that coming up here on today's program. Like I said, EpiBank text line is open at 785-899-2222. If you want to be part of the Morning Blitz, hit me up with your thoughts and comments. We will get to those here throughout the program. But like I said, lots to get to here in a little bit of time. Let's get things cooking with our weekend winners and losers.
There are two kinds of people in this world.
There's winners and there's losers.
Which ones were which this past weekend?
I want winners. Loser! You're a loser!
It's the weekend's winners and losers on the Morning Blitz.
Want to be a winner, be a winner.
All right, weekend winners to get things going here in this first segment. If you want to hand out your weekend winners and losers, hit us up, 785-899-2222. Would love to hear your weekend winners and losers from this previous week. I got to kick things off with what happened at the Big Ten basketball tournament this previous week. It was a lot of fun to watch throughout the course of the week. I really enjoy Champion Week because there's so many games and you get to see so many teams. And I enjoy watching the Big 12 and the Big Ten basketball tournament. I did think it was funny that the Big 12 switched out their video light court to the court that went to the wood court for the semifinals and finals. I did think that was funny. But nonetheless, starting out with my first winner of the weekend, I think Purdue basketball is a humongous winner of the weekend. And the reason for that is they stumbled through, if you look at the timeline of this year of basketball for Purdue, when the season began back in November, they were the preseason number one team. Had, great scorers, great point guard, had great size. They had everything you wanted. Purdue basketball did. And Purdue basketball had a very up and down regular season. Up and down, still really good in comparison to other, to many teams, but up and down for probably their standards. And after being preseason number one, we're kind of hovering around, the middle of the top 25. They get into the NCAA tournament as a number 7 seed in that bracket, and they end up rattling off 4 wins over the course of that time. They beat Northwestern, they take out the 2 seed Nebraska, and then they beat UCLA, and then they take down Michigan yesterday in the tournament championship game. So they roll their way and win the whole tournament. Going into this week, if you looked at any bracketology, most people had Purdue as like a 4, maybe even a 5 seed in the tournament. Because of how they went through the Big Ten basketball tournament, they sprung all the way up to a 2 seed, which is a massive leap in just a week span, because most bracketologists will tell you that when you get started on this championship week, like we saw last week, most of the paint has already been dried, per se. It's already kind of been done. We kind of know where everything is. There could be a few minor shakeups based upon, some teams stealing bids, but most times you know where things are. But the committee was so impressed with Purdue that they just said, we're going to bounce them all the way up to a 2 seed. Humongous winners the weekend, playing with a ton of confidence. The question is, does that carry into the NCAA tournament? Because if it does, they could make a very deep run. I mean, all the way to the Final Four, maybe even a national championship. But we all know that Purdue is usually the team that you don't want to pick in your bracket, because they seem to always not go as far when you expect them to do so. So Purdue basketball, my first winner of the weekend, going from what was a 3 to 5 seed, and in most cases I think it was 4 to 5, and bouncing themselves all the way up into the 2 line in the recent NCAA bracket. Second winner of the weekend. I have to go with the performance I saw on Sunday that just blew my mind. If you didn't get to watch this game, it was fantastic. But the Ivy League Championship for men's basketball. First and foremost, the Ivy League Championship, and just anything Ivy League to me is great, because you are watching young men and women when they compete. These are some of the brightest young people in the country. And guess what? They're playing sports because they love it, not because they're getting paid. There is not that much money, if any, going to Ivy League athletes. None really at all. They're there to get an education, and because they love to play sport and they're good at it, they get to do it. And so for second winner of the weekend, Penn's, the University of Penn's, TJ Power, who is a player for the Penn Quakers. He scored in their win over Yale, who, by the way, has been kind of the Ivy League power going to the tournament more seasons than not over the last 5 years or so. Penn gets it done as a 7 seed in their own tournament of the Ivy League, and they get it done. They go all the way to the finals of their own league tournament, and they score 88 points in an upset win, an overtime win, upset over Yale, and they get 44. Half of their points come from their star player, TJ Power, which was absolutely nuts. His 44 points are the second most in any conference tournament final over the last 30 seasons. I mean, just an unbelievable performance to Power's team. And if you watch the last few seconds of regulation, it was crazy. They were down by 3 with, 5 seconds left to go. They get it into Power. He brings it down the floor. He pulls up from the right wing with a second left, swishes in a 3 to extend the. Oh, then the funny thing is, Yale then gets a heave from 3-quarter court, and it goes off the back iron. I mean, it was really close to going in. It goes off the back iron, and they go to overtime, and Penn prevails when it's all said and done. But 44 points in an in a conference tournament final to carry your team to your first NCAA tournament appearance since 2018, that's impressive. And who's the coach of Penn in his first season? Former Iowa head coach Fran McCaffrey, which also makes me chuckle a little bit. Iowa fans ran him out, and I think he probably deserved to be done there at Iowa. But to see him get back in the NCAA tournament in his first year there at Penn, that's impressive. And to do it as a 7 seed, then they finished with a record of I think it was 3 games above 500. It's not a great record, but it was impressive. An impressive showing against Yale there in the Ivy League Conference Tournament. And then my final winner of the weekend, going to go with Team USA Hockey. And I know I've talked about Team USA Hockey as a winner of the weekend before here on the Blitz, but the 2026 USA Hockey teams, that includes the men and the women, and now the Paralympic squad, all won gold at this year's Olympics over in Italy. That is impressive. Not only, and of course, we know that the women won in overtime on a goal. The men get it done as well. It's in late time. It's been impressive showing. The Paralympic squad, I think, beat Italy, and that was in more convincing fashion. But nonetheless, what a year for USA Hockey. Not, like I said, men, women, and the Paralympic teams all winning gold in the same time, and it is the first time that it has ever happened, which is not a shocker because this was only, the 3rd gold medal in U.S. men's history? I think it was either 3rd or 4th. And so it's not a surprise that it hasn't happened all in the same year. That's just an amazing feather in the cap to USA Hockey in general. They've had some great, particularly in the non-Paralympics, in the men's and women's, they've had great junior teams, and now it's starting to pay off as they get it done internationally when it matters most with the gold medal. So congratulations, Team USA Hockey. Men, women, and Paralympic all winning gold this year at the 2026 Olympics. It's the first time it has ever been done in the same year. So very cool story there. So my winners of the weekend, once again, Purdue basketball, Penn's TJ Power, and Team USA Hockey. My winners of this previous weekend. Let's see here. Let's see if the FNB text line. Nope, nobody yet has anything on a winner at least. So let's transition into losers. Losers here on the Morning Blitz. Weekend losers. I don't want to say this. I mean, he's kind of is a loser, but he's put in a predicament. This is my first loser of the weekend. I'm going to go with former Auburn head basketball coach, now CBS television analyst Bruce Pearl. Is my first loser of the weekend. If anybody watched the bracket reveal show, particularly at the end of the bracket reveal show, when they go through okay, here's the last 4 teams that got in, and here are the first 4 teams that were left out. And of course, his team that he decided to leave in pretty much August and leave it in the hands of his son, Stephen. Auburn was one of 4 teams that was on the first 4 out. And of course, they go around the table and they ask, all right, guys, what stands out to you? And of course, Bruce Pearl's going to bring up, well, the thing that stands out to me is Auburn played an extremely tough schedule. They won 3 games against 3 conference champs. I think they beat St. John's and Florida, and there was another one that they beat. I forget what the one was. They beat these 3 conference champs, and they don't get in, and SMU gets in, who had a horrific road record and all this stuff. They just teed it up for him to just go off and pander on about his own son and his former team and former players that he has on that roster that he was coaching 8-10 months ago. So whether you want to blame Bruce Pearl or blame CBS, I don't care. You got to blame someone because that was not a great look. It was not a good look. You can't be going out there and just pandering about what your son did and all this stuff because you've got too much skin in the game. You can't go and do that. You have to try to keep it between the lines. Could you have said something along the lines and then they got to ask the committee chair, each got to ask him one question after that. And what did Bruce ask? Bruce, what was the difference? Or what was the guy's name? Or, sir, what was the difference between Auburn getting in and SMU getting? What was the defining factors and all that stuff? Which are fine questions, but once again, it just felt kind of icky that he was the one asking those questions. It just felt all he cared about was the fact that his son's team got in the tournament. And look, I get it. You want to have the best success for your own kid. Totally understand that. But this year was not a good year for Auburn. It was not. They finished with a record that was, 3 or 4 games above 500. They were knocked out early in the SEC tournament. Everything that Bruce Pearl, I thought, said when it came to that topic, or he had a chance to just kind of take the conversation where we wanted to go, he took it right there. And I did not like that at all. So whether you want to blame CBS or Bruce Pearl or a combination of the both, it was not great. You could bring it up maybe once, but his just continuous discussion and pandering for Auburn and his son and on the NCAA selection show yesterday, I thought was just icky. Didn't like it. So Bruce Pearl, a loser of the weekend. And I'm kind of glad Auburn didn't get in. Still somehow, some way, the SEC got more teams in than anybody else. And that I don't quite understand. I got to do some more diving into the bracket and see who got left out and who maybe should have gotten brought back in. Or the SEC had 10 teams that got in, and then I think the Big 10 had 9. I think maybe the Big 12 had 8 or 9. But, I mean, the SEC had a down year, yet they still found a way to get 10 teams in. Got to go looking at that. That just seems a little ridiculous to me. I'll have to dig deeper in that for tomorrow's show. So Bruce Pearl, loser of the weekend, number 1. Second loser of the weekend, going to go with Colby Community College baseball. Another rough weekend for the Trojans, unfortunately, who have now seen their losing streak stretch to 9 consecutive games. The Trojans really, really struggling when it comes to allowing runs, unfortunately. Colby is allowing over 14 runs per game in Jayhawk conference games. 14 runs per game. It has been a very tough start to conference play and really tough start to the season for Trojan pitching, allowing over 14 runs per game. In fact, their conference ERA is 16.66 on earned run average. So you look at some of the scores that they're competing in, and don't get me wrong, they've got some pretty good offensive numbers. I mean, they're putting up decent numbers. When you look at this losing streak, for example, if you go back to the beginning of the losing streak, so they've lost 9 in a row. They're 0-8 in conference play to begin conference play. I know they've played 2 good teams in Hutch and Butler, so I don't want to say they haven't played anybody bad, but you look at the runs allowed in conference play: 12, 9, 11, 24, 11, 21, 11, 14. You're not going to win many baseball games if you can't keep it at least at a single. They talk about crooked numbers, in baseball. If you allow one run, all right, that's fine. If you're allowing 2 crooked numbers, that's a problem. And so they've got to get some things worked out of the pitch staff. They're scoring runs. I mean, they're able to get 14 and 10 and 10 in some of these games, but it's hard to overcome when you're allowing 14, 11, 21, 24. I was looking at the defense. They're only averaging about an error a game so far this year. So it just comes down to guys just not missing barrels and getting absolutely lit up, unfortunately. That's just kind of the way it's been at this point in time. So Colby Community College baseball on the 9-game losing streak. Unfortunately, they had a tough weekend as well. And then my final loser of the weekend before we get to break, I'm going to give K-State baseball Their final inning of the weekend is the loser of the weekend. K-State baseball had an amazing weekend. We all know how great they have been. I think they were 13-4 going into this weekend. They are 15-5 as we sit here on this Monday morning. But get this. Houston, who, by the way, I mentioned this on the show Friday, had a team ERA of top 3 in the Big 12. It was one of the best ERAs in the Big 12 going into conference play. They had really good ERA, their pitching staff. Kansas State goes out and absolutely hammers Houston in the first 2 games. In fact, if you add up the score through so there's of course 9 times 3 is 27. So you throw that would be 3 games. Through the first 25 and a half innings of this 3-game series, K-State outscored Houston 42-14. They absolutely pounded Houston in the first 2 games and through the first few innings of that game 3. But it all fell apart in the bottom of the 8th of game number 3, where the Cats surrendered 11 runs and lost in 8 innings 16-6 because of the time rule and the run rule deal going into effect there. I mean, that's just nuts. You were so dominant through this entire weekend. Dominant. 42-14. You have a beautiful record of 15-4, and Sunday was kind of more of a back and forth game. But you know what? You were right in it there. And it was tied at 5, I think, the top of the 8th. Or tied at 6 in the top of the 8th. Yeah, 6 in the top of the 8th. And you go out and allow 11 runs. Or sorry, no, it was actually you were up 1 in the top of the 8th. Excuse me, and then you allow 11 runs in the bottom of the 8th to lose that. So K-State baseball, a great weekend overall, but just that final inning of the weekend is a loser of the weekend for me. 11 runs in the bottom of the 8th, and you end up losing that game 16-6. And you were just dominant that entire series. It's still a great weekend. You always want to, anytime you can take a series, 2 games, best of 3, you take 2 of them. Awesome. K-State continues to have a great record at 15-5. They're still a really good baseball team this year. But that last inning was a stinker, and it makes me wonder if that's going to carry over at all into this next few games. Curious. We'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. There you go. Weekend winners and losers here on the Morning Blitz on this March the 16th. Once again, my winners, a lot of basketball. You got Purdue basketball, Penn University's TJ Power, and Team USA hockey. Losers of the weekend, Bruce Pearl or CBS Sports, whatever you want to call it for the continuous pandering. Colby Community College baseball and K-State baseball's final inning of the weekend. All losers of the weekend here on the Morning Blitz. Okay, let's get to a timeout. When we come back, we will have leftovers. That's right, we're changing things up here on Monday. We'll have some leftovers where we will discuss the all GWAC and Northwest Kansas League basketball teams, and I will also have my recap of my picks of the weekend. Pretty solid week overall for your guy. So we will get to that next, and then Steve Mark will join us coming up in our final segment today from inside Nebraska. Stick around. Plenty more to get to here on a Monday edition of the Morning Blitz.
Are pests making your home or business uncomfortable? Call Pest Away in Goodland, Kansas, serving all of Northwest Kansas. They provide top-notch pest control services to keep your space safe and pest-free. From ants to rodents, termites to spiders, our expert team is here to help with effective, safe, and affordable pest control solutions. Don't wait. Call Pest Away today at 785-728-7166 for fast, reliable service. Your home or business deserves the best protection.
When it comes to farming in today's economy, it's about looking at the long-term picture. And when it comes to your irrigation needs, you want to deal with the seasoned boys at Western Sprinklers with their years of experience in designing, repairing, and maintaining irrigation systems from the pump to the end gun. They not only sell the reliable and high-quality Valley pivots, but also service them with their complete parts department and 3-pump rigs. They want to help improve your bottom line for years to come because they look at your farming operation as if it were their own at Western Sprinklers in Colby.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning, Jared Law with the Andersons in Overland Park, Kansas with your morning market update. It's Monday, March 16th in the overnight session. May corn down 4 3/4 at 462.5. July down 4 1/4 at 474. September down 3 at 476 1/4. December down 3 1/4 at 488 1/4. Soybeans On the May, down 32 and a quarter at 11.93. July down 30 at 12.07 and a half. August down 25 and a quarter at 11.93. November down 11 and 3/4 at 11.49 and 3/4. KC wheat on the May up 2, 6.32. July up 1 and 3/4, 6.45 and a half. September up a penny at 6.59 and a half. December up half a cent at 6.77 and a half. Chicago wheat down 6 and a quarter at 6.07 and a half. Feeder cattle finished last week 349.47 and a half. Live cattle 230.90. Lean hogs 93.45. Crude futures down 329 a barrel at 95.33. Gold futures down 51.50 an ounce, 5,001 even. Silver down $1.91 at 79 even. U.S. dollar index down 6 points at 130. Dow futures up 366 at 46,958. S&P futures up 59 at 6,695. Need to move any cash grade or want to talk about risk management, reach out to myself, Jared Law, Tom Sluder, Kelly Gersh, 913-748-3000. If you're out in Colorado, you can reach out to John Hanky or John Styles at 970-744-4484.
The Anderson Trade Group, proud market partners with Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio. Find out more at andersongrain.com. The risk of loss through trading futures and or options is substantial, and each investor or trader must consider whether this is a suitable investment. Past performance, whether actual or indicated, is not indicative of future results. The Anderson Trade Group has no guarantee that the advice given will result in profitable trades.
If you're buying or selling cattle, make your first stop livestockmarket.com. Bred cows, heifers, pairs, bulls and frozen genetics, even feeder calves. You'll find them all at livestockmarket.com. Livestock Market features private treaty sales, online auctions, and live production sale bidding. You'll also find horses, sheep, goats, and hay. Check out the free Livestock Market magazine wherever you pick up Tractor House and download the Livestock Market mobile app today.
At Thrasher Foundation Repair, we promise you an experience so remarkable, you'll want to leave us a 5-star review. From wet basements to bowing walls, sinking concrete to nasty crawl spaces, whatever your home's facing, you can count on Thrasher to fix it right. With over 34,000 5-star reviews and 50 years as a local family-owned company, Thrasher is a name homeowners trust. Schedule your free home inspection today at gothrasher.com. Thrasher.
Missed the weekend action?
Yes, you caught me.
No worries. We've got all the highlights and lowlights covered.
Hey, okay, well, catch me up.
This is the Morning Blitz with Russ Volkmer.
$7:35 Mountain, 8:35 Central Time on a Monday, March the 16th. 13 degrees, mostly sunny. And don't forget, today it is the beginning of the NWKS Radio Bracket Challenge. Paper brackets will be out to our sponsoring locations here later on this morning. So probably right around, if you go out around noontime, all the brackets should be there. Noon local time, I should say. Check out those brackets, and you can get them filled out, bring them back by Thursday at noon, and then the tournament will get underway, and we'll see who can win $1,500 in cash with this year's NWKS Radio Bracket Challenge. Text the word bracket to 785-460-0790. That's 460-0790. Text the word bracket, and that'll get you a list of the sponsor and locations you can go pick up a bracket from. It's going today, once again, around noon local time. You can go and get your brackets at sponsoring locations. Steve Merritt coming up here in just a little bit. We'll talk with him from inside Nebraska. Nebraska basketball going to Oklahoma City as a 4 seed in the first round of the NCAA tournament. So we will talk to him about that coming up here in about 10 minutes or so. Before we get to that, though, I wanted to quickly get to some big news yesterday. So as the basketball season came to an end for some area teams with the state tournaments, which, by the way, a quick shout out to all the state, to a couple of regional teams. Holcomb girls finished 4th place. They lost to Halstead in the 3rd place game, and Hugoton boys finishing in 3rd place. They beat Atchison 69-53. They had good finishes to the season. Your state champs in girls, Shawnee Mission South, St. James Academy, who beat Hayes by 1. That was a heartbreaker. Hayes played so hard. It's kind of pulling for them. Hayden won 4A. Silver Lake getting it done at 3A. Finally, Little River, Sacred Heart in 2A. Little River 1A D1. Lynn 1A D2. Your girls champs. Boys champs. Olathe North in 6A. I love Coach Olding. He's hilarious for Olathe North. Visit with him before. Bonner Springs in 5A. Baldwin at 4A. Wichita Collegiate gets it done in 3A to the chagrin of some people around here. 1A D1, Beloit St. John Tipton gets the win, and Hanover the winner in 1A D2. Your Acacia State basketball champs from this past weekend. But like I said, here on segment number 2, wanted to get to the all-league teams that were released yesterday, and saw that I should say, let's try this again. I don't like this. Let's try this one more time. Hopefully, if I can get this to work. I don't know. There we go. Okay. The all GWAC teams, it's on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. If you want to check it out right now, you can check it out there. But yeah, you're looking at the what's going on in that part of the neck of the woods. First team selection for all GWAC girls we'll do the girls team first. First team was Jaylee Wickwer. She was the player of the year. Behind her, teammate Isabella Galliard, and then Amiley Lewis of Hugoton, Shaylee Holstmeister of Colby, Hope Bierman, and Libby Cure of Goodland, also making the girls' first team for all GWAC basketball. Second team girls, Piper Fox, Delilah Galliard. You had Malia Ruda with Emily Tinoco, Harper Vaughn of Colby, and Allie Cure, all in the second team for all-league basketball. And then honorable mention, all-league basketball for the ladies this year in the GWAC, Lauren Linton of Goodland, Peyton Gentry. You had Madison Williams, Iris Belli Alvarado, Sadie Cheney of Colby making the honorable mention, and Tegan Escom making the honorable mention list there for the girls. Not surprised really at anything. I think the people that maybe I was a little surprised that Goodland got 2 girls on the first team, maybe a little bit. But at the same time, looking at the other, I think that's probably pretty much about right. Shaylee Holstmeister deserved to be a first team selection, and player of the year was, I don't know, I think that was kind of up in the air through most of the year, and Jaylee Wickwer gets it at the end for her performance late down the stretch. You look at the boys side for the GWAC. This is where it's interesting. Jordan Jones, Colby was a first team selection and the player of the year, and probably should have been. That Colby team does not have any type of the success that they had without him. He was fantastic. He led the league in scoring at over close to 25 points per game. He was amazing all season long. Was Jordan Jones, no doubt deserving of the player of the year in the GWAC. He was first team selection. Also joining on the first team, Brody Deniston of Holcomb, Hugoton's Cameron Rosas and Gavin Salazar, both very good. Holcomb's Aiden Brown and Ulysses's Julian Mraz, making the boys' first team there. Second team is where you find Goodland's Braylon Mole, as well as Scott City's Junior Meza and Avery Radke. Goodland's Connor Collett in his first varsity season gets a second team selection. Cimarron's Cade Sunday and Colby's Josiah Hoppy making the second team. And then honorable mention list included Corbin Johnson of Holcomb, Miguel Hernandez of Hugoton, Jonas Mock of Hugoton, Stryker Berglund of Ulysses. You also had Adrian Adigan of Hugoton and Austin Sullivan of Holcomb, the honorable mention list. A lot of Holcomb, no surprise. And I think maybe the biggest, I don't want to say it was a surprise. It was a surprise to not see Goodland's Braylon Mole on the first team for how good of a year he had. I was not surprised to see Connor Collett get a second team. I think was perfect. He was great all year. Besides a few dips here or there, but that's all right. He's for a consistent point. He was very good all year. Braylon Mole was great all year and probably deserved a first team honor, but he was in a mix of when I look at the boys side, there were a lot of really, really good players. Maybe not a lot of great players, but a lot of really, really good players. And so, if you throw Mraz and Mole and Salazar and Deniston and those type of guys, the guards, you could kind of shake that up and roll it out again, and Braylon could end up on the first team. He really could. But yeah, Braylon Mole, second team, easily could have been a first teamer, but I get it. There's only so many spots on the first team. And he's kind of like in the same category as a lot of those guys on the first team, and those are the guys that got more votes, it looks like. Mentioned Colby, also had Josiah Hoppy making the second team. I thought he deserved it. He was a phenomenal player this year. Big guy that had great hands around the basket, really did well. So he deserved a second team mention as well. So like I said, there's your all GWAC teams from this previous basketball season. Congratulations to all those that earned an honor. Also yesterday, I saw that the Northwest Kansas League released their 25-26 first, second team honorable mention. roll through those real quickly. Your first teamers for boys included Greeley County's Braxton Mangan, Tyler Osmeyer of Decatur County. You had, I'm trying to pull up this guy. Let's see. I have it written down in my other notes. I can't quite read it on my graphic, unfortunately. Let's see here. Tyler Osmeyer and Gage. Sorry, you had, so the first team was Wallace County's Gage Cox, Decatur Community's Tyler Osmeyer and Gage Willoughby, Quinter's Cademan Bridges, and Greeley County's Braxton Mangum were your first team selections. You had a couple of other guys. You had for second team, Quinter's Gunnar Katura. You had Charlie Vogel of Dighton, Colt Worth of Quinter, Dominic Paz of Rollins County, and Lucas Riley of St. Francis were the second team. Honorable mention included Gail Yanez of Greeley County, Jamir Yanez of Greeley County, which both those guys will be back next year. You had Kemper Benish of Wallace County and Christian Aquino of Wallace County, and then Bryson Ketterall of Decatur County or Decatur Community in the honorable mention for the boys. And then the 2025-26 girls Northwest Kansas League all basketball teams. You had Laney Spear of Dighton, Quinter's Braylon Blackwell, Decatur Community's Briley Minnick, Cameron Getz of Quinter, and Rollins County's Camden Franklin were all first-team selections. And then second team, Jersey Benish of Wallace County, Jaden Stewart of Greeley County, Riley James of Dighton, Maria Rodriguez of Decatur Community, Katie Shively of Rollins County, and then on the honorable mention list included Callie Richardson and Riley Myers of Wallace County and Dighton, respectively, were the honorable mention deal. Well, the thing that stood out to me was, based upon the postseason that Wallace County's Jersey Benish and Callie Richardson had, they should probably be first-team selections. But based upon the numbers that they were putting up, like the 30 and 20 and the 20-20 were ridiculous. Those sound like first-team selections to me. But it's based upon the entire year of work, the entire body of work. And like I said, last year they they must have just turned it on in the postseason at the right time for Wallace County girls. So there you go. That's what happened with the that's what happened with your all league. First of all, Northwest Kansas League girls, Northwest Kansas League boys, also GWAC. If you want to look at that more in depth, you can go to our website, nwksradio.net. There's a story posted on the page there if you'd like to see the all league teams from the Northwest Kansas League and the GWAC. All right, we got to get to a break. Before we get to a break, real quickly, had picks of the weekend, went 5-2 this week. The only losses were I had KU covering against Houston. That did not happen. Houston blew the doors off the Jayhawks. And I had the Nuggets beating the Lakers on Saturday. That did not happen. There were some questionable calls in that game, but the Nuggets end up losing that game, so I get the loss there. But I did get Nebraska baseball sweeps over Maine, Texas Tech winning a series over KU, K-State baseball winning the series at Houston. I had Iowa State covering Arizona, Purdue covering Nebraska. So 5-2 start to a new slate. Pretty good start, I'd say. All right, right at the top of our quarter till, we'll take a break. Back with Steve Mark of Inside Nebraska next. This is the Morning Blitz.
At F&B Bank, we believe local businesses are the heart of our community. That's why we're more than just your bank. We're your neighbor, your customer, and your biggest supporter. From the corner cafe to the hardware store downtown, we're walking the
at Outdoor Living Essentials. And remember, if you need it, Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware probably has it. They even have milk. Hoover Lumber-Ace Hardware in Goodland and Colby, your place for just about everything.
The days are getting longer, the roads are calling, and it's a great time to upgrade your ride at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland. Right now, get 1.9% APR for 36 months on a 2026 GMC Terrain, the perfect SUV for wherever the road takes you. Need a truck? Take advantage of up to $7,000 in rebates on a 26 GMC Sierra 1500 with eligible trade-in. And for serious capability, get $500 bonus cash on a new 2026 GMC 3500. See the full lineup today at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland or online at hurlchev.com.
Get ready for the 10th annual Schilling Cattle Production Sale. It's happening Wednesday, March 25th at 1 p.m. Central Time in Brewster, Kansas. We're selling 50 Angus bulls, 2 Limflex bulls, and 20 Angus heifers. Big, stout, performance-driven cattle with an excellent selection of Calvinese bulls. You can check out the cattle on Facebook at Schilling Cattle and watch the sale live on DV Auction. Come see great cattle, meet great people, and enjoy some fantastic food. Mark your calendar now for the Schilling Cattle Production Sale on Wednesday, March 25th.
From the headlines to the highlights.
It's good! The Wildcats are champions of the Big 12!
This is the Morning Blitz.
All right, about 13 minutes till the top of the hour on a Monday program. Once again, get your final thoughts and comments in on the F&B Bank text line at 785-899-2222. We head to the Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware hotline, where we are pleased to be joined on the phone by Steve Mark, who covers Nebraska for Inside Nebraska. Steve, good morning. How are we doing today, my friend? How are we feeling?
Yeah, good morning, Ross. Thanks for having me on. It's been a good morning. A little bit chilly here in Lincoln, but you know what? It's a March Madness time. It's about Huskers are getting ready to gear up and go to Oklahoma City and do the thing. So it's been a good morning.
What is the buzz like around Lincoln? And I'll be curious to hear what your thoughts are on this, but the buzz around Lincoln, because I tell you, anything you read sounds like it's just going to be a big red invasion in Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It's absolutely going to be a big red invasion for sure. The buzz around Lincoln, I mean, it's turned into a basketball town. Absolutely has. I mean, with the football team having a quieter spring ball like they've wanted to, it's kind of worked out perfectly that the men's basketball program has kind of pulled off one of the more historic seasons in its history. So Fred Hoiberg's kind of taking the handoff and is leading the way with this down here, and the fans are loving it. Lincoln has absolutely turned into a college basketball town. It's been fun to watch.
The amazing thing is, it's the fire is still, I think, roaring very high, despite Nebraska finishing the last 12 games 6-6, I think is what it is. And so it's not been a great finish to the regular season. They were the 2 seed in the Big Ten tournament. They drew the eventual Big Ten tournament champion Purdue in their first game, got beat pretty handily. What do you think is the feeling inside the locker room and in Coach Fred Hoiberg's head as they get set to go down to Oklahoma City based upon what has happened the last couple of weeks with kind of this back and forth, up and down showing?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, Ross. It's so the vibes are, they did not, like you said, they did not end the season how you would want to end. If you're heading into the NCAA tournament, they are not playing their best basketball right now. And they're coming off that just beat down by Purdue again. It kind of just seemed like the same story, different chapter in Chicago, which I was down there for it. They just, did not have an answer for Oscar Clough and Purdue's physicality. So there's a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Absolutely. I feel that. And, everybody's just kind of wondering about what Troy's going to do, how they're going to play. They're wondering about the size and physicality that those guys play with down there. So, you would obviously like to have the team playing better than it is right now down the stretch, right before the most important game in program history. But, to be honest, I think the team is battling a little bit of confidence issues right now. The physicality aspect of the game. I mean, the basketball games are only going to get just more tougher and challenging, and the physicality is going to be even more, of a trait that Nebraska needs to figure out right here. So I think the mindset of everybody is just, okay, we need to regroup. We need to go down there and start playing the way that they have, like in the first 20 games of the season. They need to take better care of the ball. I think. It's the turnovers have been an issue for sure. I think it's something where, in the last 9 games, I think, or in 8 of the last 9 games, they've had a double-digit amount of turnovers, and that's very uncharacteristic for this team, especially early in the season. So they need to take better care of the ball, and they need to just, to be honest with you, man up. They need to be more physical. They need to be, they need to take the fight to the opponent and be the tougher team. And that hasn't happened of late. And that's kind of, I think, what many fans' concerns are right now, especially with this Troy team that, can do some things physically and going into Thursday's matchup.
We're visiting with Steve Mark inside Nebraska, talking Nebraska basketball's first round game. They're the 4-seed Oklahoma City is where they'll play against the Troy Trojans, Sun Belt Conference champs. You mentioned, during that first 20 games, what's the difference between the first 20 games and the last 12, in your opinion? I mean, you talk about, physicality, but it's almost like as if Nebraska basketball is kind of riding on like a magic carpet or something during those first 20 games, and then these last 12, it's been a real struggle.
Yeah, I think defenses have figured out that they can get away with a little bit of physical defense with Nebraska, especially with Price Sanford. Everybody talks about how defenses, especially maybe Iowa, was the one that really was kind of holding him, tugging him, yanking on his jersey when he was trying to, just run around and get into Nebraska's actions for him. And I think some opponents have really kind of taken to that and have really started to become more physical and grab and hold and just do a lot of the physical muscle stuff against Nebraska that maybe opponents in the first 20 games didn't do. And to be honest with you, the ball security as well. I mean, it's really kind of gone downhill lately. As I mentioned, in 8 of the last 9 games, they've turned the ball over 10 times, or at least 10 times. So it's finding a way to adjust to an opponent's physicality that they're playing with, as much physicality as the referees are going to let them play. And then also the ball security. You have to absolutely take better care of the ball. They were doing that in the early part of the season. They were one of the best teams at limiting turnovers. But in this stretch down the stretch here, it's just not been the same. So I think opponents are kind of being more physical with them, and I think Nebraska is getting sped up a little bit, and they're kind of making some bad decisions when they have the ball in their hands, and I think opponents are taking full advantage of that. So those are the two things that kind of stick out to me is physicality. Nebraska, I think, nobody can really argue that Nebraska is really kind of a finesse team, and they run a pretty offense, and they can score the ball if the threes are hitting. But when it comes down to it, if the 3-point shot is not falling, they're not really that physical of a basketball team. And then, just the ball security and taking better of the ball. It's taking care of the ball. It's just not been as crisp as it was earlier in the season. And I think that's because opponents are kind of speeding these guys up a little bit and making them, make more mistakes than we're all kind of accustomed to.
Kind of give us a quick scout on Troy. What's one thing that they do really good that should concern Nebraska, but one thing that maybe Nebraska can take advantage of, and how much of an advantage of it is Nebraska just getting outside of conference play and playing a team that doesn't see them very often?
Yeah. So the things that stand out to me, I'm kind of still in the middle of looking up these guys, but I do know that they crash the offensive glass really hard, and they defend the perimeter really well. So they are 55th nationally in offensive rebound rate. So they're grabbing almost 35% of their misses. And if you look at Troy's starting lineup, they go 6'9", 6'8", and 6'7". So they're not an overly huge, really tall team, but they do have some big forward type bodies, and they're pretty athletic. Thomas Dowd is one of their leading scorers, and he's 6'8", 225 pounds. He is springy. He is athletic. He is full of emotion. He's going to be one that Husker fans need to be aware of. Troy, they aren't really shooting the ball well this year, but I think they kind of recognize that, and those guys are a bunch of dogs when the ball is in the air and they go get that thing. So the offensive glass is going to be something that's very important to Nebraska. Rebounding is always important, but winning the rebound battle against Troy is going to be very, very important, in my opinion, just because of the effort. I was watching their Sun Belt Conference championship game against Georgia Southern last night, and they just attacked that offensive glass and want to get every rebound and get those extra possessions. And obviously, as of late, that's kind of been Nebraska's weakness is, just rebounding and getting a body on guys and keeping them off the glass. So if Nebraska can keep these guys off the offensive glass and limit them to one possession, I think the Huskers' chances at a win go way up. And then obviously defending the three. Troy is one of the better teams nationally in defending the three. They are holding opponents to around 31% from 3-point range, 32%. So that's going to be another thing, especially with Nebraska. We know that their offense, we know that their 3-point shot is really important to them and how they operate. So, it's going to be interesting to see how, Nebraska attacks Troy's defense and how good Troy is at defending Nebraska's actions, especially with, trying to get Price Sanford some open looks and guys like that. So, crashing the offensive boards, Troy's pretty good at, and then they're also pretty good at defending the three. So those things are going to be top of my mind when Troy and Nebraska tip off at 11:40 a.m. on Thursday. So it's just in my opinion, going into this thing, it's a confidence thing with these guys. I think they were kind of beat down by Purdue in Chicago, and everybody needs to regroup and to just take better care of the ball. If they do that, I think that's going to go a long way. So the confidence thing with Nebraska is where my attention is going to be as well.
Steve Marker, I guess, Unsaid Nebraska. 30 seconds, Steve, your final question. Is Troy a good or a bad matchup? Because it all comes down to matchups for Nebraska here. And for any NCAA tournament team, is it a good or a bad matchup?
Yeah, I think it's a bad matchup. If I had to pick one, I think it's a bad matchup. I do think Nebraska is going to win, but I could see it being pretty close at halftime before Nebraska ultimately pulls away in the second half. But again, you look at Troy and what they have. They're getting their starting center back. He's had a really good season as well. He's coming off injury, so they're going to have some bigger bodies to box out. That's really where my mind is at right now. Just get a body, get the rebounds, and go. And I think that Nebraska's going to be just fine.
Steve Mark, Inside Nebraska. Steve, thank you so much. Really do appreciate the time squeezing us in today with your busy schedule, and safe travels down to OKC.
Yes, thank you so much, Ross, for having me on.
Once again, great stuff there from Steve Merck with Inside Nebraska. All right, we got to get to the walk-off here and wrap up a show here on a Monday. We're already up against the clock. Here we go.
High drive, deep left, grand slam!
And Matt lifts his ball high and deep to right. How about a walk-off Grady? Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime. Mahomes swings it. It's there. Hardman. Jackpot. Kansas City.
Larry chiming in late on the F&B Bank text line. He says, not sure how you have K-State loser for allowing 11 runs in an inning, but not mentioning KU not making a basket in the first 8 minutes of the second half on Saturday. True, Larry. Did forget about that. There's a lot of things that happened, Larry. I can only see and remember so much, Larry. But I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. That was a bad showing for KU, who, by the way, is a 4 seed. They are in San Diego. They take on Cal Baptist, I believe, is who they play. Or no, is it UC Irvine? I think it's UC Irvine in the first round of the tournament there for the Jayhawks. We'll dive more into that here on our shows later on this week. But that will do it for our program today. Don't forget to get out to a sponsoring location and be a part of this year's Into Chaos Bracket Challenge. Text the word bracket to 785-460-0790, and you can find a list of sponsored locations. Pick your bracket up here over the noon hour. All right, thanks again to Steve Mark. Thanks again to you for all listening on a Monday show. We're back again tomorrow on a Tuesday. Once again, it'll be a short week this week. No shows Thursday and Friday, as I will be at the NCAA tournament down in Oklahoma City myself. So back on Tuesday, another show on Wednesday before we're out for the week. Have a great rest of your Monday. Cooler temperatures today, but warmer temperatures coming up tomorrow. So hunker down. You'll get through her. It's been the Blitz.